Hi everyone, I'm Noelle, and today I'm going to show you a DIY project on how to make a baby blanket. Now there are a million different patterns and ways to do this out there. This is actually a project that my sister and I, many years ago, found some fabric at Joann's and said, let's make baby blankets. At that time, of course, it was for our dolls because, well, we were much younger. Anyway, I believe this is just regular baby flannel prints, and we picked complementing patterns, and my sister made hers, and she so graciously cut out my pieces for me. So now all I have to do pretty much is sew it together. So here's what we did. We picked a backing. This is, like I said, it's just baby print flannel from Joann's. I'm going to show it to you if I can get it to focus. It's got all kinds of baby colors. It says things like, oh baby, cutie pie, so sweet. I think that's it. But it's got little hearts and all kinds of colors, so it's really cute. And that's going to be the backing. And then we picked the front. Now we wanted it to kind of have a quilt-like look, so that's why we chose this. Let's see, at the top. Let me show you a small piece. So we chose this adorable patchwork color with little animals, and it is just, I mean, baby quilt cute. So this is going to be the front panel. And then we picked this little, it's a white with the green and pink polka dots, and that's going to be the border. And this is going to be the border around the front panel, which is then sewn to the back, if that makes sense. This is a very thin blanket. It only has the front flannel and the back flannel. There's no batting like a quilt or anything like that. So I don't think she used a pattern. She may have looked up dimensions online. Okay, so I'm gonna lay this out and start putting it together. I'm gonna start because my sister cut out the front piece to the right proportions. I believe my backing piece is big, so I'm gonna have to cut that later. But I'm going to start by sewing the border onto the front piece because I know this is the size that I wanted. In case you're following along and you want to make one of these yourself, if you're interested, the borders are 3 inches in height or width, whatever you want to call that. The strips are 3 inches, and she made them bigger than they had to be, so the front piece is about, I'd say, 28 inches in width, and it's a square, so it's just about 28 inches in width and 28 inches in length. And these strips are about, they have about 4 extra inches on each side, so 28 plus 8, they're like 32 inches long, just to give extra security and everything. So, okay. So I'm going to start pinning and we'll get sewing. Okay, I got my, that's the bottom side, sewed, and I followed this seam, so it was like a pressure foot was just on the end of it and just went all the way down, and it's probably about a 1/4, I think about a 1/4 of an inch seam all the way down. And so what it's going to look like is the border at the bottom of the pattern. So next step is to take an iron. This is one of those tedious things that I hate to do, but very important in quilts and blankets. Take an iron and press down this seam so that it's flat and it doesn't pucker inside of the blanket. So I'm going to do that. The next step is to once again take another border, match it up with one of the front panel sides, and stitch it up. There's our second side. We're going to go iron that down and sew up the next two sides. And here's the completed front. So each border is sewn, like I said, about 1/4 of an inch all the way down. I chose on the top corners for those to be the borders that are on the outside. So, you know, I just went all the way down, I stitched all the way down, and then cut off the ends with pinking shears. So the bottom of the borders is the one that goes under, and this one is the one that goes on top, because we had those extra few inches. So it is so cute. Here's a close-up. I love this fabric so much. It is so cute. I just love it. Okay, so all the borders are sewn on, and I am ready to put the backing on. So what I'm going to do is take my backing over here and lay it out, and then lay this top piece on top, and then I'm going to cut. I believe I have to cut it down. I believe I have to trim it down, but maybe not. I'll have to see here. I might trim it a little bit, and then I'm going to sew 3 sides on, and either half of the 4th side or leave the 4th side open. We'll kind of see how it goes. But the point is you do right sides together as you're sewing those 3 sides, and then you flip it inside out, and you can hand sew the last side or the last part of the side, however will work. We'll see how it goes here. So I'm going to set this up. And here's a look with the with the backing. Yeah, I have way too much backing. So what I'm going to do is cut, probably trim to start maybe about 1 inch or 2 around the entire thing, and then just to make sure and give myself leeway, and then I'll trim as I sew to make sure that I don't run out of fabric, because that would be really bad. So I'm going to trim it with my pinky shears. Okay, we're going to start by sewing one side. And then I'm going to take this edge and sew it together, probably at a little bit, maybe slightly more than a 1/4 inch. You don't want it too big because you don't want too much of a border inside. Arrived at my last seam, so all the seams are, I decided to trim them and then sew them, and I'm on the 4th seam. What I'm going to do, as you can see, I have some extra here. I'm going to go ahead and sew about 3/4 of the way down here, and then I'm going to cut all the way down on trim this little extra fabric all the way down, and then I'm going to turn it inside out, and I'm going to do a little hand stitch to sew up the remaining part. So here we go. Alright, now I'm going to trim my edge, And it's really hard to iron these parts, so I'm just kind of pressing the seam down with my finger, kind of self-ironing, if you will. This one's really short. Alright, so I have my little hole, and I'm just going to turn it inside out. You could technically make that hole just as big of a size as for your hand to slip through. I made it a little bit bigger just because I didn't know. It's probably a little bit too big, but oh well. So you want to go in using your finger, you want your whole arm to go in there, and you want to pull out the little corners and make sure the whole seam comes out. I'm going to make sure that you sewed completely, that there's no holes in the corners. They're completely sewn shut. And all along the same that you completed all of your seams on the sides, that there's no holes. Okay. And then shake it out. All right. When we're all done with it, we'll iron and press the seams down flat to finish the blanket. But here we have, okay. The goal here is to turn both of the fabric in and then do a tiny little invisible stitch. Might take a while because I have a big hole. Okay, now for our final iron. Just want to press those seams out as much as possible. They're nice and flat. Probably not going to be perfect, but you know, it is what it is. And there you have it. A do-it-yourself baby blanket completed. I think it's pretty awesome. Granted, I think pretty much anything that I could actually make is pretty awesome. So this was a lot of fun. It took maybe a couple of hours total. And it's easy. It's pretty cheap if you can get the fabric on sale. And it makes a great gift, or great for your own baby, or for little girls, for dolls. You can make a smaller size, a bigger size. It's completely customizable, which is awesome. You don't actually need a pattern. You can just pretty much do it yourself. So thanks so much for joining me on my baby blanket adventure, and I'll see you next time. Bye.